Triple M NRL Preview.
Spectacular try.
Brought to you by Bryden's Lawyers.
Okay, it's time for NRL tipping here on Triple M, and I'm joined by the immortal Andrew Johns. And Joey, geez, a couple of good games tonight. We've got Tigers versus Rabbitohs. Big test for the Tigers.
Yeah, but they're one of those teams, the Tigers, if it clicks, they can put points on. I think the Rabbitohs will win too much class, especially at the back with Greg Inglis, but I think it'll be a tight one. I think the Rabbitohs will win, but not by too many points.
Okay, what about the Broncos and the Roosters? Big test of credibility here for the Broncos, who are 2 from 2.
Yeah, the Broncos have won both their games through defence, and I think it'll be no different tonight. They'll really rip in defence. I don't see many points for the Broncos, but I just think in this one, I think the Roosters will have too much class, but also I think this will be a tight game and a real low-scoring affair.
What about the Panthers and the Bulldogs? Both 1 from 1, but really they've been in stark contrast. Panthers are really impressed. Well, the jury's still out on the Dogs.
Yeah, the Dogs won well the other night against the Sharks, but the Sharks have got 5 of their best players out. I thought the Dogs are okay without being brilliant, but I thought the Panthers last week showed their character against the Storm. I think at home the Panthers will win this one.
Okay, let's go to the other game, a bit of interest around. An old derby from the 80s, well, an old rivalry, the Seagulls versus the Eels. And Joey, you know, this is a real test for the Eels. They began the season fantastic, as they have the last few seasons, then were hammered last week. They've got to turn up at Brookie.
Well, they'll bounce back, and also the big thing for the Eels, their coach, Brad Arthur, he was assistant coach at Manly last year, so he knows their attack, but also knows their defensive structures. Could be a few injuries for Manly. There could be a couple of guys out. But I think Manly at home will have too much class, but I don't think they'll get them by 40 like a lot of people think.
Okay, let's rip through these last ones, mate. It is a local derby over there, the Battle of the Tom Ugley's Bridge. Sharks versus St George Illawarra Dragons.
Yeah, they'll live for Todd Carney being back the Sharks, but you can't win without your best players. I think they really struggled for points last week, creativity. It'll be a tight one because they'll really lift at home, especially against their arch rivals, but I think the Dragons will win in a real low-scoring affair.
Mate, entertaining game up there in Townsville. The Cowboys up against the disappointing Warriors.
I think the Warriors will bounce back in this one. They have to improve on the way they've played. They've been absolutely dreadful. No other reason. I think the likes of Johnson, he has to lift. If Sean Johnson lifts, especially coming up against Jonathan Thurston, I give him a show. I'm going for an upset. I think the Warriors can get him.
What about the Raiders and the Titans?
I think the Raiders at home will have too much strike, especially their young fullback, Anthony Milford. I knew he was a good player, but
yeah, he's good.
He's a superstar already. It's just great footwork and he's quick. And when he gets the ball off those late offloads, he's near unstoppable. I think Canberra at home, especially with the Titans coming off that really impressive game last week in the heat.
Storm versus the Knights, and Joey, the Storm, well, they just keep on keeping on. Well, the Knights are 0-2, important game for them.
Yeah, no Jared Mullen, no Darius Boyd. It's like the Sharks, you can't win without your best players. Jared Mullen provides so much spark for the Knights. I think the Storm will win and probably win well in this one.
That's it, that's the test for this week, and remember, all care, no responsibility.
Triple M rocks the NRL.